Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vassell and Sam Healy.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia. Hello.
And I'm Sam Healy. What's up, folks?
Today we're taking a look at the newest expansion for T.I.M.E Stories, Estrella Drive.
Ooh.
This one is... Well, you know what? Here's the deal, okay? Halfway through this review, or actually probably less than halfway, we're going to do spoilers. We're going to tell you so you have a chance to turn off. But at the same time, we can't not spoil anything by talking about this.
This is what he's talking about right here.
Well, no. I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say that this is set in the 80s in the movie industry.
Yes.
Okay, if you don't want to know any spoilers, though, I don't know why you got to... Some stuff's going to happen. But yeah, I'm going to bump this out of the way real quick, too. The mature audience only. If I was giving this a rating like a movie rating, I would say that if you're wondering what that means, I think it should be clear. There's sex and nudity, I would say, is mildly in this. Profanity is pretty heavy, and drug use is off the charts. And violence. And violence is off the charts.
Yeah. Right.
However, if you thought the first one, the one that came in a box, was okay, this one is just a notch above that, honestly.
It's rated R. I mean, if this was a movie, it'd be a movie
notches above it.
Well, language-wise, you're right.
It's a couple notches above
If this was a movie, though, it would be rated R.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
But people are probably wondering why. So that's why I'm just
That's why.
explaining.
Yes,
right,
that is why.
So this is the newest one. It doesn't, as far as we can tell, it doesn't, you could play this in order. In fact, at the beginning of this one, it almost acted like we had never played one before.
A little bit.
So it doesn't really affect it, for people who are like, does this affect that overall story that they're putting in? As far as I can tell, it doesn't really come into play. This is its own standalone scenario.
Again, but that could just be we haven't seen how it's going to tie in later
Well,
on.
maybe, I guess. I have a really big problem with this one in one regard, and that is the translation. I do not know what happened in this one, but this is one of the worst translated games I've ever seen. There's a lot of text.
Heavy games. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think that's where it probably kind of the reason it stands out so much.
Yeah.
It's because there's so much text that you have to read, and it is like Google Translator did not do this justice.
There's a lot of just verbose, weird, awkward word usage, and just bizarre. I mean, it is. Yes.
It made us laugh a lot.
It did. It's not good. Translation is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. It's not like a few things either. It's just like...
It's all over the place.
Weird synonyms for things and...
No, just bizarre.
Okay, so before we get to the spoiler, we should basically tell you what we think of it. So what did you think of this one as compared to the rest of the scenarios?
My big beef with this game, and honestly the whole series up to right now, is the same issue I would have if I was into a TV show and they gave me a great, pilot, and then the first couple of episodes are good, and there's a great plot, and I'm like, oh man, something big's gonna happen, I wanna see this, and then the next 3 episodes don't talk about the plot. Get back to the story! I'm sick of waiting. That's why I think they're just losing people left and right, probably. You cannot give us this amazing arc about like, oh yeah, mysterious time traveling something, shenanigans are happening, and then keep giving me episode after episode that doesn't actually tie to the main story. Who cares? I don't get that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, the fact that, that notwithstanding, whatever, it's fine. It's.
I wonder if each of these things feels like multiple episodes because you have to do multiple runs. Technically, this is only one episode in that whole thing that you're talking about.
Right.
So if you're watching this TV show, just following your analogy, all of the episodes up until now do fit together. At least that's what we've been told. Mm-hmm. This one is the only one that seems to not fit.
Well, actually, the last 2 or 3, though, have barely touched on that overarching story. Prophecy of the Dragons was like, hey.
But we've seen that they are connected. The stories themselves might not
but the last couple
show
of
that.
them, barely. It's been like, hey, okay.
Right, that's not
know,
enough.
That's like a tickle. That's like a teaser, right?
Yeah, it's been like 2 years now. How long are we gonna wait?
That's just their release
Again, that would be
schedule,
like,
though.
again, to follow this sort of weird analogy, if I went to go see the latest Avengers movie, Infinity War, and Thanos wasn't in it, if he's in the trailers but he wasn't in the movie, I'd kind of have a problem with that. That's how I feel about this. Get to the story that you told us was part of this.
Okay, so
That's true.
Taking that part out of it, what about the actual story in here? What did you like? Did you like this one?
It's fine. I mean, it's a little samey. There's way too many runs like they've really been doing lately. They need to do fewer runs. You start getting into the repetition sets in fairly quickly, and then you're like, okay, I'm not even resetting the whole thing. Just go back a little bit.
We actually did that at some point. We were like, listen, we're going to go back and do the exact same things except one decision. So we're just going to go back to that decision. No reason to start the whole thing over again.
That's the thing. These games, I think they think that what people love about these games is the multiple runs. That only carries you so far. There's got to be something else. I don't actually like trying something again because I keep failing. It's a novel concept in a board game, but it isn't fun to continually fail until you sequentially put something in order. That wears on you, you know? This game does that a lot. This scenario does that a lot, I thought.
I think it's interesting that you guys are cooling on this now.
Oh, very much so.
You guys were like gung ho on Time Stories when it first came out.
I agree,
and I was the one that was kind of, it's fun, it's okay, yeah, it's good. But you guys were like gung ho, and now your guys are like settling where I am.
Because again, they keep giving me the same stuff.
I know, but I just think it's funny.
If the first one was the only one that had ever come out, I'd be like, that game is fantastic. Time Stories is one of the best games ever made. But
it would be a one and done.
That's fine, but what it was,
it'd be
what
cool.
it was fine.
Disappointing.
Again, like one episode of a TV show, and then they canceled the pilot. Like the pilot was just a pilot. Be like, man, I can't believe they didn't pick that up. It was an amazing pilot. But then if they actually picked up the series and they made the pilot pretty much every episode, I'd be like, oh, yeah. By the 8th episode, I'm like, this show is just not going anywhere. This isn't going anywhere.
All right, so what did you think of it?
Well, I mean, I was very, very concerned about the adult or mature audiences only, prevalent black. It's not a sticker, but the thing that's right there on the box, and it's so revelatory, I guess. But watched what Brian Drake said about it, and he kind of put it in a category where it wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be, and that was cool. It's still, this is not something that I would even think about playing with kids.
Obviously,
I mean, just so far out of that realm. So I think the moniker that it has is valid and necessary. But as far as the story is concerned, it was just felt like a weird horror movie, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm not a big fan of horror movies, so that's kind of lets you in on how I feel about this one. If this fell off the face of the earth and was not considered canon Time Stories, I'd be fine with that, because it just doesn't fit the kind of story that it is. Doesn't fit with the rest of the ones that are in there.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought the story. So there's two parts of a Time Stories module.
Well, wait, hold on. Are we ready for spoilers here?
Not yet, but I'm going to get to spoilers in a second. But this isn't spoilers. There's two parts of a module. One is the story, and one is the mechanisms. Because they each usually add some new mechanism, which problematically, if there's a really cool mechanism, they never come back to it.
Apparently.
That really bugs me, by the way. But in this one, they did a thing that we've already seen. A very similar thing to something we've already seen for the mechanism. Other than that, though, there wasn't anything really that new. And then the second thing is I thought the story was just meh. It was very similar to other stories that Time Stories itself has already done. And this game wasn't very puzzly. It came down to more of a...
Which I thought was fine, matter of fact.
I like the puzzle thing, but this one was more of a
I
just
don't have
figure
to
out
have
the
the puzzle
proper
part.
order to do everything, and I don't like that as much.
Again, it's that idea of like,
It
let's
is a puzzle.
do
in and of
multiple
itself.
runs, yeah, but it's like a really, really big puzzle,
True.
which involves you basically setting everything up and doing it again. And we did that wrong again. Set it up for the 5th time. Run through it again. That's the one thing that's going to wear on people, you know? I remember the first time, again, like you were saying, that we played Time Stories, and you get your 30 time units or whatever, and the game runs down and you reset, you're like, oh man, going into this again for a second time, there's all these things, you know? This is so cool. What a cool concept. You visited a point in time in the past, or in the future, or whatever, and then when you come back again, when you jump to that same point again, you know some things. That's great as part of the game. I don't want that to be the whole game. And by that I mean, okay, you need to put together A, B, C, and D. If you get it in the wrong order, you have to jump back and do it again. That's tiresome. That's not, I don't want that to be the game. It's got to be part of the story.
It's been the game ever since the beginning, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's only been part of the game, though. There's been other cool things. There are Time Stories, the other modules that we've done, especially in the beginning, he wouldn't even look at them when they were done. I would look at every card. But you wouldn't look at them
Right.
because there were multiple ways to do things. Again, that's one of my favorite, the third one, what was it?
The Prophecy of Dragons.
Prophecy of Dragons. There are multiple ways to get to a certain point. That's really
Right.
cool. In this one, it felt very straitjacket-ishy. This is easily my least favorite of the series so far. The other one that felt straitjackety was the Egyptian one. That one felt very straight. But for me,
again,
my favorite
the
part of
Egyptian
these
was the
is
same thing.
the
It was
puzzles.
like, figure this out. Go see the cat. You got to get the cat, and then talk to this lady, and then you did the cat after the lady. Start again. I don't like that.
Okay, so let's do quick rankings and then we'll get to spoilers. For me, my least favorite so far, I actually did not enjoy this one that much. I mean, there were some moments that I was like, oh, that's cool, but man. And it has nothing, honestly. I know some people are like, oh, the mature rating. That really doesn't even have anything to do with it. I didn't really like it that much, but I mean, that had nothing to do with it. It was more like, oh, that guy just cursed the curse? Yeah, he did. Okay, whatever. You know?
Curse the curse.
Well, that's what it felt like. You meet a person like, hey, I'm using drugs, I'm cursing, I'm killing people, or whatever, you know?
Yeah. It was not a big deal.
So thumbs down from me.
For me, this is not my least favorite. I think the last one before this one was my least favorite. But they're not on the up and up. That sounds like they're not being honest. They're not moving. They're not getting better for me. They are in a lull for me for sure. You know, they've had a few really good ones and some low points early on there, say the first 4 or 5. And now it feels like it's all by the numbers, and they forgot that they set a story in place way back when. Maybe these are being designed by other people. I mean, they are. And those people are not in on the big arc. So they're just writing cool time story scenarios. And that's great. I get that. But then, once you get that build, you got to make it part of your tale you're telling here. Because otherwise, I just don't care. You promised a good story, and you're not giving us that.
Yeah, I've already pretty much said I'm not a fan of this one. It just doesn't. The first module that came in the core box, that was about as far as I wanted to go as far as the whole, mature audiences aspect of things, and really, it dabbled in it, but that was a little bit. This kicks it up a few notches for me. You said a notch, but I think it's a little bit more than that. I just wasn't feeling it the whole time. I thought the mechanisms were fine. How you go through everything is fine, but the story just did not grab me at all. So it was just not here at all.
All right, some spoilers.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. We're about to talk about spoilers.
Spoilers.
So if you don't want to hear spoilers,
Okay, well, they should be
Go
up.
away.
Okay, so, I like red herrings sometimes. Like minor things like, hey, this is a, if we talk about the very first one, I can still talk to someone who's played Time Stories and go, what about the umbrella? and people always laugh.
I mean the plunger, right?
Oh, the plunger. The plunger, right? The plunger, right? And people always laugh. That was a funny red herring. It was a thing. This game, though, takes it up to a point where they're like, hey, there's some cool puzzle here, and it never shows up. There are books, there are signs, there are movie posters, and we're like looking at all this stuff because even the last one, that mattered.
It's like it's not a troll. It's not a red herring anymore. They're just trolling you. It's like almost every well, not almost, but more than one of the locations had a red herring in it. I don't remember exactly how many, but it seemed like we ran into like 3 of those suckers.
But not just the obvious ones. I'm just saying there was like, here's all these movie posters, and we're like, oh, well, let's look at that. And here's a list of all the people invited to the party. Oh, well, does that matter? No.
Yeah.
None of it mattered.
None of it did, yeah.
There was no puzzle in here.
No, there was no puzzle. I mean, the puzzle is do this crap in order. That's the puzzle. Which, again, I don't like. No, I don't like red herrings myself.
Well, I think they're funny once in a while. Like the plunger thing was really funny when it happened.
It was funny. It was fine. I would rather they actually use the stuff they give you. And I guess, again, a part of it is escape rooms now have spoiled us on what this should be able to do. But
because escape rooms usually don't have red herrings.
And they're full of puzzles, good stuff. And they couldn't put one in here? You got all this story.
Yeah, maybe the puzzles are gone from these at this point.
Maybe.
I don't know. I guess I can't. You guys are kind of puzzle snobs, I think, because
puzzle snobs. Because I like them. No, I like them.
No. If they're not hard, if there isn't a hard puzzle in there, it's not puzzly.
No.
What's
I don't even want to. There's no puzzle in this.
Well, the whole last half of the scenario was a puzzle that we had to figure out.
Figure out what to do things in order. That's not a puzzle. That's trial and error. There's nothing where I could be like, oh, I figured out the correct order to do this. No, instead
it is
I did this.
Error, right.
Oh, it's wrong. Okay, I'll do this. A puzzle I can look at and go, that's the correct answer on the first time. Even if it's easy. You said I don't like easy puzzles. I like easy puzzles, so they make me feel awesome.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm not that good at them. I just
no. What he thinks is easy usually isn't easy. That's
I understand it, but I mean, when I play the different puzzle games, I played like the really easy ones from Game Right and stuff, and they're fun to do because I mean they're pretty easy. I can solve them on my own.
I don't know. I think the whole time unit thing at the end, where we could set the traps and all that kind of stuff, that was something that we did not figure out, and that's a puzzle.
I guess, but
we didn't figure it out until we were sitting around thinking about how could we have done this better, and at that point we said, okay, we could have done it this way, we could have done this, and then we could have done this, and it would have been able to. We would have been able to set multiple traps on one room and all this other kind of stuff. That's puzzly. That's puzzly.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you can't figure it out ahead of time, and that's not puzzly. That's again trial and error.
I think that's a little semantical.
I don't know, though.
Trial and error is a puzzle that you have to figure out. It's just a different kind of puzzle.
When I do like a crossword puzzle, and I'm figuring out the things that go in there, I can use my knowledge and put them in there, or I could guess every word in existence and put it in. That's trial and error. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So trial and error to go through a maze, you're like, okay, I'll go this way. Oh, that's the wrong way. Okay, let's restart. And that's how this felt. Well, regardless, I just don't like it.
No, that's fine.
And I also didn't like, again, that the battles... Luck was a huge issue in the second half.
Not if we did it right, though. Again, I think
even if we failed in our rules, we would have died at any given battle.
Well, no, I'm saying say that about any game that has dice in it. If you fail, you're going to do bad. Of course you are.
Yeah,
but if we would have figured out earlier how to put those different traps in the right places, and again, you got to figure out where to put them and all that other kind of stuff, so that takes multiple runs, so I get that. Yeah. But again, I don't think the combat was too hard. It was too hard if you just ran in there and tried to do it on your own.
Oh, I get that.
Way too hard.
We learned that.
But if you use those traps the way they're supposed to be used, it wasn't that difficult, especially if all 3 of us were in there.
Right.
Yeah, but there was a heavy reliance on combat. At the end,
yeah,
a character who didn't have combat was not very useful.
Unless they were given a weapon by the other people, and there were plenty of weapons in this.
If they survived, though.
True.
And again, I didn't like that 15 time unit thing at all. The end there was still really short. It was like boom, boom, boom. Okay.
Yeah, but you're supposed to be finding the things that give you more time, and that's neat. But And thematically, that was cool. Like, lock the door, close the window.
That's true. I did like that.
I like that. You know what I mean? Again, to me, what they've done with, for the most part, what they've done with story in these, what they've done with all of that stuff, the everything that they've done for the most part, I like. I just don't like the over-reliance on, and this is weird because it's the whole thing that they base the game on, multiple runs. That works up to a point. They have to know that having to set this up for the 7th time for your 7th run at the same story gets old, right? I mean, that's not just me.
I wonder if we're just stupid and nobody has to do it that many times.
Well, let's see. There's no way you can make it through the first run in one time. So you're going to have to go through at least twice. And I would imagine maybe 2 or 3. That second run, no, unless you are like super lucky. You're going to go through that 3, 4, 5 times.
Unless you hit that, like, you, there was at one point where...
The living room, right, or wherever, you close the curtain or lock the front door.
And it gives you extra time, and you're like, oh. Unless you hit that your first time. And you could, because, you know, it's just the way it is. But I don't know. I think we were probably... I don't know. Maybe we were trying to rush it too much.
Well, I was, because I was getting bored. That's the thing. I was like, oh, same thing. And that's my biggest problem, is that stupid story.
Yeah, but
right?
we miss stuff when you rush, right?
Well, that's true. We pointed that out many times.
So we went too
but
many.
In this game, there wasn't too many things to miss.
Which made it. We had to go through multiple times.
I feel like we were in a room and we'd look at all the stuff in there. I didn't feel like we were going into a room and like look at card A and be like, okay, B, whatever, sleep. Like, we would look at the stuff in there.
Yeah.
And then usually end up running into red herrings again, because there were so many of them.
But we weren't reading everything, partially because of the translation problem, because it's like, there's nothing here. They didn't spend any time really putting a lot of thought into the translation.
Yeah, I mean,
here.
I'm sure it's fine in French. I'm assuming it's originally in French and can't translate it, but it was bad.
But I'm saying the story with these cultists was really similar to the first story, where there was cultists doing something. And here we had these people getting these objects together. By the way, I'm surprised Beatles isn't going to sue these guys here. But they're getting these objects together, doing a seance to go in the past for apparently, as far as I can tell, no reason, because none of them made a difference in the past.
I don't know.
Other than slowing us down.
That was
and yet we were there
that was just a way to get us there.
But we were there to fix something, so we burned the stuff and...
No, we were there to
like
close that time rift that they had created by doing the seance.
But we allowed everyone to get murdered anyway.
Yeah, let them go.
And again,
I didn't feel like a hero after this story.
You kind of have to do that, though, so that the time-space continuum isn't disrupted enough.
Yeah, dude, didn't you know anything?
No,
Okay.
I'm not saying that.
No, listen, I just did my look back, where I went back a year and looked at the reviews, and a year ago we did the Arctic one.
Expedition
Endurance,
yeah,
right.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, wow, I remember the cool mechanisms in that one.
Yes.
I remember the really good story.
Yes.
I really like that one. Yeah. And I still think fondly on that one. This one I'll forget.
Yeah, well, I won't forget it. It's pretty graphic, but it's... No, it is. I mean, there's some nasty stuff in there, dude.
This is like...
And another thing,
random
talking about,
movie on Netflix.
I don't think that this feels like the one that comes in the core box.
No, I don't either.
This one
that
feels
one's good.
more like a Charles Manson type thing. The one in the core box had a very mystical, fantastical feel to it. You had all these different creatures running around. This was just like crazies with weapons. That's all it was.
I don't like that they've lost, for me, again, the idea that this is a sci-fi game. Some of my favorite moments in some of these scenarios is when you're in the middle of the desert somewhere, or you're in a different time and place, and someone pulls out a disc that does something mechanical, and you're like, this is anachronistic. Mm-hmm. That is cool. That makes me go, ooh, sci-fi. The most technological thing is an album. It's like, I miss that stuff. I miss the immersion of feeling like a time traveler. Once I'm there, I'm just there.
Well, I'm still pumped.
I could have started there, you know what I mean? And especially when it doesn't tie to the story. All that happens is Bob screams at you some more, and then it's like a regular Thursday at the time agency.
Bob is a jerk, yes.
Oh, I hate Bob and Laura.
I just wish that they would.
In the game.
I hope Laura's watching.
Oh, Bob and Laura, yeah. I just wish that they would get back to it. Back to it.
I have high hopes for the next one. The next one's the pirate one. I hope that's good. But for me, it's kind of like the system's last chance. If the pirate one does not touch the overall story, I'm going to be pretty mad because we've really been waiting on that for a while now.
Okay.
And it better be interesting, right? It better not just be, I don't know, it just better not be boring.
I don't know.
I really, because the last two have been three of the last four have been my three lowest ones. The Expedition Endurance was great. And that one I really liked that one a lot.
Yeah, me too.
But we'll see.
Yeah, this one and the last one are two of my least favorites, for sure.
We talked a lot about this game.
Yeah, we did.
Expedition Endurance. I'm sorry, no. Estrella Drive. I'm talking about the wrong one now. Time Stories. Of course, you're gonna check it out. Let us know in the comments. Of course, if you're going to write spoilers in the comments, please put the word spoiler so people who are not.
Yeah, really.
Don't spoil it for other people.
Don't be that guy.
All right.
Or girl.
Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia. See ya.
Sam Healy. See you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.